Hi, boys and girls. The roommate's mom here tonight with another great tale for you entitled The Darning Needle. Tune in. The Darning Needle. Once upon a time, there lived a darning needle who was so refined that she was convinced she was a sewing needle. Be careful! Watch what you are holding, she shouted to the fingers who picked her up. I am so fine and thin that if I fall on the floor, you will never be able to find me again. Don't overdo it, snarled the fingers and squeezed her around the waist. Look, I am traveling with a routine, said the needle. She was referring to the thread that trailed behind her that wasn't knotted. The fingers steered the needle towards the cook's slippers. The leather had split and had to be sewn. This is vulgar work, complained the darning needle. I can't get through it. I shall break. I shall break. And then she broke. Didn't I tell you I was too fine? She whined. It had been up to the fingers. Then the darning needle would have been thrown away. But they had to mind the cook, so they dipped the needle in hot sealing wax and stuck it in the cook's blouse. Now I have become a brooch, exclaimed the darning needle. I have always felt that I've been born to be something better. When you're always something, you're always become something. Then she laughed inside herself, for you cannot see from the outside when a needle is laughing. There she sat as proudly as if she were looking out at the world from the seat of a golden carriage. May I take the liberty of asking you whether you are made of gold? The darning needle was talking to her neighbor, a pen. You look very handsome, and you have a head, even though it's small. Take my advice and let it grow a little bigger. Not everyone can be so fortunate as to be dipped in sealing wax. The darning needle drew herself up a little too proudly, for she fell out of the blouse and down into the sink at exactly the moment when the cook was rinsing it out. Here we go traveling, exclaimed the darning needle. I hope I won't get lost. But she did get lost. I am too fine for this world, she remarked when she finally came to rest at the bottom of a gutter. But I know who I am and where I'm from, and that's always something. And the darning needle kept her back straight and remained cheerful. All sorts of garbage were floating above her. Twigs, straw, pieces of newspaper. Look how they sail on, mumbled the needle. They have no idea what is sticking up right beneath them, and I can stick. Look at that old twig. It does not think about anything else in the whole world but twigs, because it is one. There goes a straw. Look at how it turns first one way and then the other. Don't think so much of yourself, or you may get hurt on the curbstone. There comes a newspaper. Everything written in it is already forgotten, and yet it spreads itself out as if it were of great importance. I sit patiently and wait. I know who I am, and that shall never change. One day, something shiny came to rest near the needle. It was a glass splinter from a broken bottle, but the darn needle thought it was a diamond. Since it glittered so nicely, she decided to converse with it. She introduced herself as a brooch. I presume you're a diamond, she said. And the glass splinter hastily agreed that he was something of that nature. Each of them believed the other was valuable, so they began to discuss how proud and haughty the rest of the world was. I have lived in a box belonging to a young lady, began the darning needle. She was a cook, and she had 5 fingers on each hand. There never existed creatures so conceited as those fingers, and yet they were the only way to take me out of the box and put me back. Did they shine? Asked the glass splinter. Shine? Sneered the needle. They were haughty. They were brothers, all born fingers, and they stood in a row next to each other, in spite of there being so much difference in their sizes. There was one who resembled the others. The least was the thumb. He was short and fat and had only one joint in his back, so he could only bend once. He always kept to himself and said that if anyone chopped off a man's hand, the man could not become a soldier. The other 4 fingers stuck together. The first one was always pointing at everything, as if the cook wanted to find out whether a sauce was too sour or too sweet. That finger was stuck into the dish or the pot, and it guided the pen when she wrote. The next finger was the tallest. He looked down at all the others. The third wore a gold ring around his stomach, and the fourth never did anything, and that's what he was proud of. They bragged and boasted all day and night. That was all they could do, and I dived in the sink. And here we sit and glitter, said the glass splinter. At that moment, the water in the gutter suddenly rose and went over its sides, taking the glass splinter with it. Well, he got his advancement, said the darning needle. I was left behind, but I am too refined to complain. That too is a form of pride which is respectable. And the needle kept her back straight and went on thinking. I'm almost convinced that a ray of sun must have given birth to me. When I think of it, the sun is always searching for me underneath the water, but I am so fine that my own mother cannot find me. If I had my old eye, the one that was broken off, I think I would cry. No, I wouldn't. Anyway, crying is so vulgar. One day, some street urchins were rummaging in the gutter. They found nails, coins, and the like. They made themselves filthy and they enjoyed doing it. Oh, cried one of the boys. The needle had pricked him. What kind of fellow are you? Fellow, I'm a lady, protested the darning needle. The sealing wax had long since worn off and she was black, but the black things looked thinner, so she thought now that she was finer than ever. Here comes an eggshell, shouted another boy, and stuck the pin in it. Well, it becomes a black needle to stand before a white sail. Everyone can see me. I hope I shan't get seasick and throw up. That is so undignified. There is no remedy against seasickness better than an iron stomach. In the awareness of being just a bit above the common herd, I feel so much better. The more refined one is, the more one can bear. Crash, said the eggshell. A wagon wheel had rolled over it. Oh, cried the darning needle. Something is pressing against me. I think I'm going to be seasick after all. I fear I will break, but it didn't break. Even though a loaded wagon drove over it, there it lay, lengthwise in the gutter, and we'll leave it there.